This place is my stress relief. Anytime growing up through high school and college, when school or anything else became overwhelming and stressful, I knew I could just hop in my canoe, grab a paddle, and go out onto the river. Out here, I could always unwind, think things through, or not think at all. This place is very meaningful to me because I know that whenever I need to unwind or cope with stress, I have a place to go to that always gives me an overwhelming sense of peace and calm.
This is a picture that lets me know that God has brought me so far and continues to do so in my life. In my upbringing, there was no strong role modeling, just drug dealers and gamblers. Many from my communities have been incarcerated or murdered, and yet I have found a strong will to keep growing. Whenever I feel like I'm being defeated, I am quickly reminded that I am one of the ones that made it from the concrete and have to keep growing and not let my rose get damaged or die. So I stay determined and focus on all the possibilities and opportunities I can make for so many others.
I was fortunate enough to grow up in a area rich in history. This is a picture of my parents' cabinets on their property. When I was growing up, I would play in it, play around in it, catch tadpoles, walk barefoot around in the creek. When I look at this picture, it just reminds me of simpler times, and it's okay to stop and smell the roses. And I don't ever want to lose sight of that as I get older.
This is the Easter Bunny cake my sister, kids, and I made. I've made this cake every year of my life. This is the first year my mama wasn't here to make it with us. It makes me feel close to her and reminds me that even though life goes on, I still have everything she taught me with me.
This is a photo of one of my collections. This represents escape for me. In this collection, I have cartoons, video games, toys, books, few more books, and even some more books. As a collector, I don't believe that we collect items so much as pieces of ourselves. Every one of these items represents a piece of who I either feel I am or who I wish I could be. Sometimes life and the world can become a very hectic and stressful environment. When this becomes an environment I choose not to be around, this is where I go. This is where I experience who I feel I really am. I can dive into any one of these books, games, or just look at one of these toys, and I get to be around what Kyle truly is. This is my escape.
These are items my dad used while working in the mine. They are symbols of hard work, courage, perseverance, love, self-worth, and a personal understanding among fellow miners. These items are also symbols of a time when, due to sickness, I saw fear and uncertainty in my dad's eyes. I witnessed him facing the unknown and coming out on the other side with a new breath of life. With that, I gained understanding of his humanity, profound respect, gratitude, and the true value of a gift. I am truly thankful for organ donation.
My grandmother was a woman of simple faith who taught me right from wrong. She said when she died she wanted me to have her china and her china cabinet, and this made me feel worthwhile. I have it today, Grandmother, and it has moved with me for 20 years into 5 different homes. At your house we ate delicious meals off those plates, and the conversation over them was even better. Now I have set my wedding china next to yours, and I talk about you over meals with your great-grandchildren. Thank you, Grandmother, for all you showed me. Remembering you, I know the girl I was and the woman I am becoming.
I spent several of my high school years living in Houston, Montana. My house was one of the small white buildings amongst the trees. There were some nightmares realized in that house and a lot of painful memories made. I would escape to this hill for peace and safety. This view established in me a greater perspective. Surrounding the awful things that were happening was a world of beauty, grandeur, and hope. This spot kept me sane, letting me know that life was so much bigger compared to the pain that I was experiencing at the time.
This photo holds two things very dear to me, my mother and a blanket I made for her. When I was finishing up my last year of school, I had to take a required art class. Little did I know this class would turn into something much more than just learning the art of weaving. 2 weeks into the semester, my father died unexpectedly from a heart attack. The process of weaving turned out to be the best form of therapy in helping me accept what had happened with my dad. I found an inner peace and I was able to focus my energy into making something beautiful and useful. My mom was the other major aspect in helping me cope with the loss of my dad. It makes me happy to see my mom using the blanket I made for her in this class where I learned more than I can ever explain.
This picture represents for me sort of the good and the bad side of people that I think everyone inherently has within them. The black wolf for me sort of represents things that maybe could have made better decisions on in the past, growing up in a dysfunctional family, guilt, anguish, and just striving to keep my better side in equilibrium. The white wolf is the better side of me, and that's what I strive to become more like now as I grow older, in helping people and having empathy for others. The environment also has some impact on my emotions. The winter environment and the ice sort of represent an isolationistic type of environment, which I have had throughout some of my life, and it also represents time that I need to have to be alone. Um, the castle on the hill, I think for me, represents just attaining something at that level that everyone wants to be successful and be part of the middle class and have a comfortable life and be able to help others, not necessarily being rich, but just essentially being normal part of society and being able to fit in and enjoy life to its fullest with an adequate amount of money to make a good living and be happy.
My family helped build the bridge, but they did not leave the island. Years later, I dreamed of this bridge, determined to cross it. 1 step, 2 steps, 3. Then one night it happened. I crossed the bridge. I was afraid, but I kept on walking. I conquered the bridge. I will keep walking and keep fighting. As the water underneath in the Cape Cod Canal flows, so will I. I will go where I need to go.
I chose this picture because it is a visual reminder that I'm insignificant. I do not find that the concept of insignificance has any direct bearing on my feelings of self-worth, nor do I say this to be negative-minded. I find the concept of my insignificance to be utterly freeing and beautiful. I'm a person who is easily overwhelmed by the details of day-to-day life. So on the rare occasions that I take time to look into the night sky and see the sheer enormity of everything around me, it helps to put the things I find stressful into perspective. Seeing the awesomeness of the universe and knowing that I am a reflection of its design helps to ground me as a person. Knowing that my struggles and woes are but a blip on the radar of existence is a welcome salve to the bumps and scrapes that work to shape me into who I am as a person.
I love the outdoors, and I hope that I've passed that love on to my children. This is a picture of my daughter when she was 2, and my son, 4 at the time, is hiding in there also, playing in a giant teepee of hyacinth bean and moonflower vines. My husband and I built this for them next to our backyard garden. During their young years, we did so much outdoors, picnicking, canoeing, fishing, hiking, gardening, raising goats and chickens, and camping. Now they are teenagers, all caught up in awful video games and texting, Instagramming, and Snapchatting. Will they appreciate and love the outdoors as I do, or will they evaporate into a smartphone?
I sit with silence and befriend it. I find it to be the most interesting of the two of us. I sit intently, awaiting every sound it shares, and find myself pulling at those sounds, like a child pulling the covers off their parents, so that they will awake. It is neither bad nor good, for it is just. It is neither quiet nor loud, but it still makes it through. I have grown to love our meetings, but hate its judgments, for I know it speaks truths, and those truths, it say, will set me free.
Coaches yelling, the clicks of the tumble track, and the pounding of the spring floors. For some, this would not be a place to relax. For me, it is my place. When I arrive, my worries disappear. I'm always greeted by little ones who are so eager to learn. I feel loved and so appreciated here. When I've had a bad day, this is my safe place. Just walking through the door changes my attitude. When I'm not coaching my kids, I'm able to blow off steam by doing what I love, tumbling. They give me the motivation to stay active even if I'm old.
When I look in a mirror, I see me, with no need for labels. But the labels are there, unspoken, when others look at me. No one feels the need to label my preference for cauliflower over broccoli, or dark chocolate over milk chocolate. But I know people are unconsciously labeling my sexual orientation when they meet me or talk to me, and they're almost always wrong. When does this aspect of myself become the elephant in the room that only I can see? When do I announce it, and with what name?
The wide open space you see here overlooking the mountains signifies myself being free, but the intimidation of how large the valleys and mountains are still keep me humble. As you see myself sitting there, it signifies me being so small in a world so large, and that adventure is key to seeing all you can see in a world and community so big. Not only is this just a pretty scenery, it is accessible by my off-road vehicles, which is my hobby, that not everyone can get to, which makes this even more of a special place. The beautiful view gives me my sense of peace and knowledge of my Lord and Savior being able to create such a gorgeous sight. Space to think, reflect, and feel free. Life is loud. Visual and physical space calms and fills the mind with optimism. Space reassures that the world is bigger than the four walls we construct, that humans can do what they will to divide up physical spaces, flood the space between our ears with noise, but that there are places that you could imagine this isn't so, that the world is okay, far away from the mess there is space. I need this space, we all may need it in some form. Finding our own space is a journey, appreciating it a skill.
This picture reminds me of what true beauty really is. The community I was raised in believed that appearances was what truly mattered, but this picture reminds me that true beauty is on the inside and not the outside. In this picture you cannot tell what color the horse is or how big or small it is. Instead, you can see that the horse is looking forward with its head held tall, not caring about what I am doing, which reminds me not to worry so much about others' thoughts towards me. Instead, look forward with my head held high. Overall, true beauty is not easily seen with a quick glance because it is like looking at someone in the dark. But instead, take the time to see a person's true beauty by waiting for the light.
This is my hobby. This is my security.
This is one of my fundamental and constitutional rights as an American citizen.
I use a journal to write poetry and practice my self-expression. It gives me an outlet, and sometimes formed poems can often be a distraction. Although many people think that writing is difficult, I find it very calming. I use a journal to write poetry and practice my self-expression. It gives me an outlet, and sometimes formed poems can often be a distraction. Although many people think that writing is difficult, I find it very calming.
It is very important to have respect for others' opinions and beliefs. For me, respect means that we give equal value to others' point of view, whether we agree with them or not. Respect allows us to have tolerance and civility. Without respect, prejudicial behavior and attitudes are easily fostered. Respect for others promotes discussion and exchange of ideas.
New beginnings. When my mother passed away, I thought that my life was over because she was no longer with me. She was my everything, and my future looked bleak without her in it. Then I got accepted into the OTA program only a few short weeks later. I'm not sure where I would be if I hadn't gotten into the program. I had many people tell me that I should wait and apply later because I had too much on my plate. Words cannot express my sincere gratitude that I have for the Roane State Community College OTA program, instructors and staff, as well as my classmates. They have helped me in so many ways. They have supported me, encouraged me, and cared for me when I thought no one would anymore. In a year, I will graduate and pass the board exam and begin a profession in which I can help people the way I wish I could have helped my mother during the last few months of her life.
I have chosen this picture because these are among the most important people in my life. Because of them, my life has changed for the better, and I believe that I have a better understanding of what true love is. It still amazes me a little that my wife agreed to marry me. She is one of my best friends, a teacher, and the love of my life. My father was never really in my life, so that kind of adds to the fact that I want to be a good father. I want to be able to teach my son to be a man of his word. He doesn't have to fit the stereotypes society may set for him, and to be tough, but that doesn't mean he has to join a gang or that he can't cry. Also, I want to teach him that his family loves him more than he will know, and for him to share that love. In the background is my fish tank, but my dog is missing from this picture, and they are both something that make me happy.
Every day when I leave my house, I see this tree, and this tree is a reminder that even though I may have been through a storm, I can still continue to grow into something beautiful. And even if the scar remains, I will continue to grow. I haven't allowed the storm to stop me from growing in my life. I may have parts of me that have been damaged or even broken, but I keep on, despite that, knowing that something beautiful can still come.
Soccer has changed my life and molded me into who I am today. The ball looking back in the mirror in the middle is to represent me looking at how soccer has changed my life. The pictures surrounding the ball represent how full and colorful my life has become because of the game. Almost every friend I have met through playing this game. This game took me to college and led me to my discovery of occupational therapy. This game taught me how to be a teammate, how to work hard, how to set goals, and how to be resilient. Now that I'm a coach, it's teaching me how to be responsible and how to be a role model. I owe all of who I am today to this soccer ball.
I thought this picture was taken on accident. Whether I knew it or not, there is a purpose behind the picture. We were on vacation in Hawaii, and I was snapping pictures of everything on our way to dinner one night. I remember thinking the lighting was beautiful, but I had no idea how the picture would turn out. When we got home and I was reviewing the pictures from the trip, this photo really stood out to me. If you've been around me, you might have noticed that I have some anxiety issues. I tend to worry, overanalyze, and feel very anxious about situations in my life. It is something I struggle with on a daily basis. I remember looking at this picture and feeling an overwhelming sense of calm. This photo made me realize that I need to relax every once in a while and just be present in what is going on around me. I printed this picture out and I framed it and put it up in my room. And I tend to look at it when I need to calm my nerves and when I'm feeling overwhelmed. I know it sounds silly, but it works for me. The photo has a calming effect and it reminds me that everything is going to be okay. I needed a reminder like that in my day-to-day life, to be mindful in everything that I do and take things one day at a time.
When I look at this picture, I see 20 years of my life. I see 3 generations of farmers. I see pride, love, and selflessness. That are 3 characteristics my mother and father instilled in me because God instilled this in them. I see my love for nature and the outdoors. I see my future, where I can see my children stomping, rolling, and engulfing in nature just as I did. I see hard work and diligent labor in order to reap the ground that I sow. I see my love for God's creation and its relatability to the images and situations that I may encounter in life. Because in 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 6 through 11 it says, "Now this I say, he who sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and he who sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. Each one must do just as he has purposed in his heart, not grudgingly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver, and God is able to make all grace abound to you, so that always having all sufficiency in everything, you have abundance for every good deed."
This is a rose garden in my birth town Bamberg, where my mother and I used to go to spend time with friends or relatives and have coffee and cake at the cafe. Away from home, in exile, I realize how much German I really am and always will be. I also appreciate my own culture much more now than I did growing up. Every country has its own uniqueness and beauty, as well as its quirks. Being German or Deutsch means to me being driven, valuing education for its own sake, not merely to use it to make money, loving ultra-modern things, yet enjoying cultural traditions, appreciating thoroughness, being science-focused, practicing critical thinking skills we've actually learned in school, and prioritizing honesty in communication. I'm Sibylla Jessica Watson, Leseis, and I'm German.